listener production.
Hey, Tara Cassidy with you and welcome to The Briefing. AI is rife in classrooms across the country and unis, well, they're not keeping up. But besides the fact students are cheating on tests, what about when they enter the workforce?
Every time someone crosses that graduation stage, the university has to be sure this person can do all those things that are on the website where they have the degree and what you'll be able to do when you finish the degree. We have a legal requirement that people can actually do that stuff when they leave us. We're not allowed to graduate people who can't do it.
That chat with an AI cheating researcher is coming up in the second half of this episode. First though, let's get into the headlines with Chris Spiru. It's Wednesday, the 22nd of October.
Hey Tara, and to you listening. Millions of Aussies are set to swelter and bunker down this week as wild weather lashes the country, everything from heat waves to dangerous winds and extreme fire risk. The East Coast has already broken records this week, Burke in New South Wales hitting 44.8 degrees, while Birdsville in outback Queensland reached 46.1.
Yeah, and multiple other spots in WA and South Australia also hit the low 40s, while Sydney, well, prepare to sweat, Chris, because the hot air mass that brought a heat wave to central Oz, it's heading your way today, and the western burbs are meant to reach above 40. In fact, earlier in the week, the Bureau of Meteorology said that multiple locations across Australia could actually see temps rise between 10 and 16 degrees higher than average because of these multiple heat waves impacting states like New South Wales, Queensland, WA and the NT.
Yeah, and because you're not in our Sydney office, Tara, you're not going to be treated to the sweet treat of me wearing shorts today. So, meanwhile, our southern friends in Victoria, South Australia and Tassie, well, you might get a bit of a reprieve from the heat with the cold front en route, but prepare for severe wind and storms instead. The BOMs issued a severe weather warning for damaging winds for multiple locations, more places than I can list here, so head to their website for that.
Yeah, but according to Geb Abbott from the Victorian SES, some of the areas likely to get the strongest winds include Geelong and the Mornington Peninsula, which are forecast to ramp up to 120 km per hour winds today, while Melbourne could get up to 100 km an hour winds.
Trees are very likely to come down, or at least branches to fall and become a hazard to both your property and on the roads.
And unfortunately, Chris, these conditions we're seeing right around the country, hot, dry, windy, that is the perfect storm for bushfires to spark up. So there's also widespread total fire bans, and it's definitely something to check out if you have any plans for a backyard barbie, backyard fire or a campfire this weekend.
The woman accused of a brazen daylight stabbing in Melbourne will remain behind bars after her bail bid was dropped and the length of her alleged criminal history revealed. 32-year-old Lauren Durrell's accused of attacking sushi shop worker One Lai on Little Bourke Street earlier this month, with shocking CCTV footage showing Durrell running up and tapping the 36-year-old before locking eyes and stabbing her in the chest. One Lai dropped to the ground and was later rushed to hospital with a punctured lung.
The matter was mentioned in the Melbourne Magistrates Court yesterday, with Durrell appearing via video link. The court heard she was out on bail at the time of the attack and is currently facing a total of 17 charges before the courts, meaning 14 unrelated to the daylight stabbing. Now, according to Durrell's lawyer, she's been living in Victorian government-funded supported housing and had actually been reported missing by a state-run homeless shelter on the day after failing to attend a mental health appointment.
Meanwhile, the victim's sister has slammed the state's victim support system, saying she was met with a dismal response from the state government, City of Melbourne and other agencies after reporting the attack. Lauren Durrell will face court again next month.
Aussie employers have been put on notice when it comes to denying working from home requests after a mum's landmark win against a major Aussie bank. Carleen Chandler, who's been with Westpac for more than 2 decades and works in their mortgage team, asked back in January to work from home so she could do school drop-offs and pick-ups for her 2 young daughters, a request the bank denied, with a senior manager telling her that, quote, working from home is no substitute for childcare. So she then suggested a compromise compromise, working 2 days a week at a branch closer to her home, given she lived almost 2 hours away from the bank's Sydney office that was also knocked back.
Yeah, she then took the matter to Fair Work, with the Commission this week ruling in her favour, saying there were no reasonable grounds for Westpac to deny her remote working requests. The Commission noted her very successful track record of working from home, and while the bank could benefit from having her in office in some capacity, that didn't outweigh the impact a refusal would have on her and her family. The decision, which can be appealed, has been backed by the Finance Sector Union, which took up Carlene's case. Its National Secretary, Julia Angrisano, says it shows working from home is a right, not a privilege, and that it means employers will need to have a genuine business reason to refuse flexible working arrangement requests going forward.
I love this outcome. I certainly hope that we get to see more people getting on board, businesses particularly with working from home, because I think it's a huge draw card, and I also think it can really boost morale. Like personally, driving into work and back, that's an hour or two every day. Imagine that across a week. If you have that time back to, have a coffee, walk your dog, be with your partner, that is going to make people ultimately more happy. And I just think if I've got a workplace that is understanding of that, win-win-win. But I want to know what you think. We're going to chuck a question in our broadcast channel, Behind the Briefing, on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. Let us know there.
Companies that profit from harming the environment in Australia could soon be forced to give up related financial gains as part of landmark reforms. The federal government is set to put forward new environmental laws before Parliament within the next fortnight, with Environment Minister Murray Watt saying tougher penalties are on the way for those who break them.
For serious breaches, individuals could be fined up to $1.6 million, while businesses could cop penalties as high as $825 million. Speaking with The Guardian, Murray Watt says the reforms will also introduce a new rule that would strip offenders of any financial advantage they gained from breaching environmental law. And it would also create a new independent environmental protection authority who will also have the power to issue, quote, stop work orders to prevent environmental harm.
Yeah, and while we wait for more detail to kind of come out around this, we, can kind of look to some certain examples. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about illegal deforestation here. So companies that come in, clear trees without a permit, and then, go on to do things with the environment or build things that they make money from. Any financial advantage that they've gotten there from skirting those laws will have to be paid back in some sort of penalty. It'll be the same case for things like illegal dumping or chemical spills, where companies avoid paying the high cleanup costs or the high disposal fees in favour of just illegally dumping. So this is essentially targeting those companies that seek forgiveness as opposed to permission.
And it turns out nearly 2/3 of you stand firmly on the side of Coles and Woolies, and more than a third of you support the government stealing from us. Well, kinda.
So we asked you in our broadcast channel on Instagram, Behind the Briefing, whose side you're on after Pauline Hanson called out Coles and Woolies for making Aussie shoppers pay for paper shopping bags that frequently break.
I'm telling Woolies and Coles, get your act together with the bags.
Well, just 38% of you said you support Pauline on this one, while 62% said you team Coles and Woolies.
Meanwhile, we also asked you about your public transport cards after the New South Wales government announced that it'll be recouping $70 million from unused Opal cards in New South Wales, those tap-on, tap-off cards that haven't been used in the last 5 years. Well, 36% of you said that was fair, 62% of you wanted the government to keep their hands off your money, with just 2% saying they were undecided.
And finally, we got your thoughts on the AFL's warning to player Bailey Smith, asking him to lay off some of his more controversial social media posts. 58% of you said that was fair, focus on the footy, Bailey. A quarter of you reckon both Bailey and the media could do better with this behaviour, while less than 10% of you say we should cut him some slack, or you just don't care. And look, we want you to get involved in the fun in our broadcast channel, so please head to our Instagram at The Briefing Podcast and follow the prompts in our description box and join that broadcast channel. We love hearing from you.
Now, that brings our headlines to a close for today. But coming up next is actually my deep dive, looking into the world of AI cheating that has become rife in Aussie classrooms. Is it fair? Is it not? Or do unis just need to move with the times? Find out next.
taking notes in class flows and there's no way to avoid it. But what if I told you that there's an AI that can generate a full transcript of your lecture?
Here's how you should actually be using ChatGPT to help you at university.
And I've been using AI to help me and assist me in writing it, and now I'm really worried that I'm going to get detected for AI.
Getting accused of using AI for 3 of my online exams at uni.
I know a lot of unis are using Turnitin to scan your assignments, and I know a lot of Turnitin reports are coming up with false positives.
AI bypass detector that can detect AI even if it's been put through a humanizer.
And he goes, "What is this?" It's an M dash. I've only ever seen these in AI papers. This is 100% AI. I'm giving you a 0. I wrote this. I can show you my notes, the actual writing that I did by hand.
AI is wreaking havoc in our school and university classrooms, with students using it to cheat on assessments, while educators are struggling to catch it and crack down. Here to discuss this topic today is AI cheating researcher Professor Phillip Dawson from the University of Deakin. Professor Dawson, thanks so much for joining me on the briefing today. AI at unis, it doesn't look to be going anywhere, but unis haven't found a workaround yet. What's your take?
Well, it's a really hard problem to solve. AI can do so much of what we used to assess, and it's actually really hard to assess people when they're doing their stuff at home and you don't want them to use AI because you want to see what they can do. That's really hard.
What are the main ways that we're seeing students actually cheat using AI?
Look, generally, someone will design an assessment task and say, I don't want students to use AI at all on this, or I want them to use it in particular ways. And students, if they're at home doing their own thing, they will just go and use AI however they want to. So really the cheating word, it's a tricky one. It's very loaded, very emotive. But certainly students are doing things like upload the assignment to ChatGPT, say, do this for me, and it'll do a passable job at a lot of uni assignments.
Yeah, and I can imagine that there's a bit of a grey area. For example, if someone's getting AI to check for spelling and grammar, perhaps people don't think that's necessarily as bad as perhaps getting it to write your entire essay for you without having to do much work.
So about a quarter of UK students in a big survey said that they thought it was okay to get some sort of help from AI in that way, you either get AI to do some work and then use it after they've edited, or about 1 in 5 thought it was okay to get AI to edit their work.
Do you think the unis, in a sense, need to kind of move with the times and realise that, sure, maybe we don't want AI writing these students' entire assessments, but we do need to be introducing it somehow and realising that AI isn't going away?
I think the main approach that unis are taking at the moment is to try and build in AI into assessments in some way, because we know that the world students are going to go into just has AI, and you can complain about that all you want, you can critique the environmental impact or the copyright or whatever else, but AI is going to be there in our students' lives. If they can't use it in assessment at some times, how can we say we're preparing them for that world?
And I saw that there was over a dozen Aussie unis that are using AI to catch AI in these kinds of assessments, but that in itself has led to people being wrongly accused. How does that happen?
So there's these AI detectors that reckon they can tell if someone's work is AI or not. And, they're fairly accurate. If I said to you they're 99% accurate, that might sound really good, but sometimes hidden behind a 99% accurate figure is one of them's got a 0.7% false positive rate. I sat down and did some calculations and found we'd have about 60,000 false positives across the higher education sector if we used this particular detector in every uni assessment task.
That is a lot.
Yeah, and we don't have the capability to deal with all of those, So there's a lot of investigations that happen when someone's accused of doing the wrong thing at uni. And unis do a really good job of that. There's a lot of checks and balances in place to make sure that we only make a finding against a student if we're really confident the student's done the wrong thing.
Do we know exactly how the AI is catching AI use? Is it because, for example, maybe it leaves certain markings in work or it scripts in a very noticeable way? Do we know exactly how it actually catches it?
There's a few different approaches. So some of them look at sort of the telltale signs of AI writing and, the classic things people talk about on social media are the overuse of certain words like bells or that M dash, which is like the long hyphen looking thing.
I use the M dash all the time. I hate that one when that came out, that ChatGPT likes to use the M dash because poor writers and journalists everywhere that use those.
I think it's because a lot of the writing that it's learned from is the writing of good journalists, and good journalists who know how to use the M dash have trained it to use the M dash. And then there's these other sort of detectors that will build a profile on your individual writing. And the question they're trying to answer is not, is it AI? They're trying to answer the question, is it you?
Interesting. Okay. And so I wondered, would they also compare it, say, to previous assessments perhaps?
Yeah. I mean, we've been doing that for a long time in higher ed where we look at your past work, we look at past work of people that are studying the same subject, and we also look at like the internet to try and match text. AI has just made it so much harder because it's all original, brand new text.
And I can see this having much greater flow-on effects if unis aren't able to kind of find a solution, because if not, theoretically, it could effectively render some of these courses useless if they can't actually be certain that students are learning the stimulus or being able to determine who's exceeding, who's not, who's failing. And I can see that, going on and impacting hiring practices for people entering the workforce.
Absolutely. So every time someone crosses that graduation stage, the university has to be sure this person can do all those things that are on the, the website where they have the degree and what you'll be able to do when you finish the degree. We have a legal requirement that people can actually do that stuff when they leave us. We're not allowed to graduate people who can't do it. So this is huge. What we're seeing is a lot of changes towards assessment where we can be more sure of what people can do now.
Do educators need to redesign whole courses so that AI can't be used to cheat, or what's the solution here?
I think we need a mix of two things. We need to, firstly, accept that students are going to use AI in heaps of the assessment and try and design the assessment with the assumption of AI use. And then there's going to be some times when it really matters that people can do something without AI. So we need assessments where we can actually be confident someone hasn't used it. Yeah, there's some real simple things we can do. When I used to teach first year computer science, you would come in with the code that you'd written, your assignment, and we would sit down and have a chat about it. I'd say, why'd you make this decision? What would happen if we changed that? How does this bit work? That sort of stuff. And the marking would happen in that conversation. Now, no task is immune to AI, and I know that smart glasses and hidden earpieces and whatever else could be used. It's about having a greater degree of confidence that the work is the student's own work, and there are approaches we have that can do that.
Say you had the power to offer up a solution to the unis that are kind of going through this. What do you think the best option would be right now for them?
Look through your degrees and find about half a dozen moments that you think are really, really important, that you know what someone can do without AI, and invest your resourcing in those moments. At the moment, unis are quite haphazard in how they invest what I call assessment security resources, things like exams or having chats with students or students going out on placements or whatever else. We need to be really strategic. So we should stop doing things like exams in first year, but we should really, really interrogate what students can do by the end of the course.
Yeah, absolutely. Great insight, Professor Dawson. Really appreciate you joining me on the briefing today.
Thank you so much.
That was Deakin University's Professor Phillip Dawson speaking with me there. And that's it for this episode of The Briefing. If you found this ep interesting, don't forget to leave us a comment or a review, or you can check us out on Instagram at The Briefing Podcast. I'm Tara Cassidy. See you next time.